in my follow-up email tomorrow morning or Monday as well. That started. Okay, thanks everyone. I know it is a very busy time of the year. I think there's a couple of leagues that are starting this weekend. Most leagues are starting the weekend after. So it is pretty much all systems go for everyone. So it is a very busy time. So I do appreciate you taking out an hour of your day to just go through a few extra updates for this month. Before I continue, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands on which we are gathered on today, a land on which we play our great game of Australian football. I acknowledge elders both past, present and emerging, and pay our respects to the Aboriginal connection to land, sea and spirit. So the agenda, I sent this, I included this in my update at the start of the week. So we've got Marsh Insurance, who are going to just go through some of the insurance processes and affiliation versus non-affiliation for those that it is relevant to. I've got Dan Richardson, who's going to elaborate a little bit more on the umpire respect piece. Copped a lot of attention a few weeks ago during the Amy series, so he's going to elaborate a little bit more from his perspective on what that's aiming to do. We'll go through some more programs within the development strategy for Victoria and Talent Academy update. I'll go through, I'll touch on laws just a little bit, not a lot, and then some time for some general discussion at the end. Before we get started, so firstly, I can see on the line, he's got the wrong name on my screen, so hopefully we can get that fixed. But a big welcome to Doug Howarth from South Metro Junior Football League. Doug has taken over from Cam Watt's role as umpiring operations. Doug is also an umpire in the Southern Football Netball League. I think he's still doing some coaching as well for the South Metro Juniors. I'm sure he would be. And he's also part of our the State Talent Academy as well as a field umpire. So welcome, Doug. And in saying that, we do have to farewell Watsy. He was not on the line, but Watsy was lucky to get a general manager position at South Metro Junior Football League. I'm sure we've all seen how amazing he has been at his role in such a short amount of time. So well-deserved position for Watsy. And I haven't seen Darren on the line, but Darren he's decided to step away from AFL Southeast. So his last day is tomorrow. So we thank Darren for being part of the team for the last sort of 1.5 seasons. Stepped in at the start of last year, had an interrupted season. So very difficult for anyone who sort of started over the last 2 years. So we thank Darren for his time. Darren's going to continue to be involved with Southern umpires still. So we'll definitely see Darren around in community umpiring still. I'm going to hand it over now to Jono Edge, who is going to talk about the Marsh Insurance, the insurance scheme program in Victoria. And I think he's got a couple of the Marsh representatives with him as well. Welcome, Jono.
Thanks, Talbo. Pleasure to see everyone, and thanks for taking the time today and inviting us to come and present on the insurance aspects. I'm Jono Edge. I'm the AFL's insurance manager, and I oversee the national community insurance program across Australia for community and state football, together with other insurance programs we have for the elite. But today with me, I've got Jamie Taylor and Cale Smith, both from Marsh, who's the AFL's insurance broker and the insurance broker for all the community football associations and clubs. And they're here to help and sort of discuss what the level of cover is that we have for our umpires for umpiring and affiliated activities, together with how to lodge a claim and any questions that you guys might have in respect of the umpiring insurance coverage. I'm going to share my screen. I think that's all right, Talbot. I think I've got the ability to do that. Perfect. Yep. I'm just what we're going to do is we're going to work through the website. So the Marsh website has all the relevant information available for the team to access. So if everyone can hopefully see that screen, which is the Marsh website, and then I'll hand over to Jamie and Cale to lead us through. But I'll scroll through this this website. Essentially, what I can do post this meeting is share our contact details together with this website with Andrew, and he can then share it with the group. So you've got that easy access. But essentially, when we do go to the Marsh website, it's for the whole AFL program. There is different sections here across the different kind of groups or cohorts. And down here, we've got the umpires. If you click on that tab down there, it then takes you to a full page. Hopefully this is going to work. Yes, it does, where it provides the full information of the insurance coverage, what's covered, what's not. But I'll now hand pass over to Jamie to really just discuss and talk through that coverage.
Thanks, Jono. Good afternoon, all. My name's Jamie Taylor. I'm joined by Cale Smith, and we're the account manager of the AFL Insurance Program. It's been in place since 2004, so it's been a long and successful insurance program. A lot of benefits for the participants, including the umpires, which are essential part of the game. I'm involved both locally in football and at state league level, so I have a good snapshot of the program. Been working on this account for 15 years, so we're, as all things, it's a great program. There's always ways that we can look to make it a little bit better and get some feedback from the participants to see areas that we might have improvements, and we have done since the start in 2004 to today. So essentially for the umpires, there's a number of factors that they are insured under. There's a public liability policy, which essentially you won't really, we hope that we don't ever see a need for a public liability claim, but there is that cover for the umpires. But the most prominent part of the program that the umpires would claim under is the personal accident of the National Risk Protection Program. So that's for any injury sustained in any of their sanctioned training or umpiring matches and so forth. So all umpires are provided with automatic bronze level cover. There's 4 levels of benefit under the personal accident policy of the National Risk Protection Program. There's bronze, silver, gold and platinum. So all the umpires are included automatically at that bronze level. So they get essentially non-Medicare medical cover, capital benefits cover, quadriplegia, paraplegia cover, as outlined on that page there. So that is provided to every umpire. There's no cost to that. They're all automatically provided that bronze level cover. However, in addition to that, if a whole association or state increases that level of cover, for example, the VCFL in New South Wales, they increase all their clubs up to silver level, then the umpires will be increased up to that level as well. There is the ability to increase that bronze cover up to a gold level cover. And there's an upgrade form. There's a button there for them to do it. It can't be done individually as an umpire, but it can be done as a whole association. A number of our associations across the country take out that additional cover for bronze to gold or silver to gold, depending on what level they're already at. Essentially, the biggest component of that cover that you need to be aware of is the non-Medicare medical component, which has a lot of complexities to it because of the Medicare system. Ultimately, the Medicare system allows a refund for any Medicare bills, and then there's a gap. Now, both the Medicare bill and the gap are uninsurable under this insurance program because it's against the law under the Health Insurance Act. So essentially what that means is if you get a bill that's Medicare related, this program can't pay any element of that cost. But if it's a non-Medicare bill, then we can pay at that bronze level 50% of that bill up to a maximum of $2,000 per claim. There's a $100 first off excess as well. And there's also capital benefits and quadriplegia, paraplegia cover. So the quad para cover is at $1 million for all umpires. And the capital benefits are things like death or permanent disablement and so forth. And that starts at the $100,000 limit at the bronze level. And we hope that we don't see any of those type of events for our umpiring groups. One of the major components, as I said, is the upgrade to the gold. We've got a lot of umpires that do that. So that basically increases that non-Medicare medical from 50% to $2,000 to 75% up to the maximum, up to $3,500 per claim for those non-Medicare medical bills. So a lot of our clubs associations have taken it out for the umpires, and the forms on our website. It's pretty basic to complete. List the number of umpires you've got. It calculates a cost, and then you can just make payment on that on a one-off payment or on a month by month basis. Any questions at all? Happy to field them as we go through, or at the end, no problem. Now, if it does go wrong and there is a claim, so an umpire gets seriously injured, or for that matter, not that seriously injured, they might do a hammy or a calf or an Achilles, then they can make a claim. So we've got a claim section on our website. Essentially, there's an online claim methodology, and there's also a hard copy that they can download, print that off, fill it in, and send that through to us. So essentially, the claim form's broken up into 4 sections. The first section is just their contact details, who they are, where they are umpiring, who they're umpiring for. The second part is in respect of the sign off from that league or association to confirm that they were umpiring that game at that time. And then the third part essentially is the physio, surgeon, or whoever the medical practitioner is to complete their section, just to confirm that they did, this is what injury they've sustained, to confirm and to substantiate that. And then the last sections, if they upgrade and take out some loss of income as part of that as well, which can be done under the gold methodology. So they're the 4 sections. Realistically, the claim form doesn't take that long to complete. It does look quite complex, but it is quite simple and basic. And we essentially recommend that if they are injured, they get that notification into us straight away, even if they haven't completed the whole sections of the form as yet. Just so it's been notified to the insurer, they'll get a claim number, they'll get a contact person to go to with any subsequent information they need to lodge and or costs that they need to claim under the program. We've got a team of a number of people in South Australia that handle all those claims. They've been looking after the AFL program since 2004, so they've got a good handle on the claims and making sure they get through as fast as possible. The next section on this website, it just gives a bit of a snapshot. Non-Medicare medical is a bit of a myth to everyone what's covered, what isn't covered under non-Medicare medical. So we give a little bit of a snapshot here on the page. So what's generally covered is physio, chiro, dental, ambulance, private hospital beds and accommodation. And what's generally not covered, because it's all Medicare items, are the things like the surgeon's fees, anaesthetists, x-rays, private hospital costs, and the like. MRIs is an interesting one because that can be both Medicare related and it can be non-Medicare related. So there's not one hard and fast rule on MRIs. It just depends on the hospital, whether they deem it a Medicare item or a non-Medicare item. Obviously, if it's non-Medicare, then we can claim it. If it's Medicare, again, because of the Health Insurance Act, unfortunately, we're not allowed to insure it under the general insurance policy. Now, where does personal injury insurance apply? So essentially, the coverage provides cover for affiliated umpiring groups to our associations and state bodies and leagues. If they're affiliated to those guys, then they're covered for all their training and all their game umpiring at match and officiating at game day. So they're all covered. If they've got a sorry, I missed. There was a question. Nope. Essentially, if they hold functions at their headquarters and so forth, they might have a social event and so forth. They'd be all covered under the program as well. Ultimately, there's a few things to be aware with all insurance policies, as everyone would be aware of. If pre-existing injuries aren't covered, and other things that are listed there that may affect a claim. The one that needs to be highlighted is essentially there are some across the country that aren't affiliated organisations with the state or the league that they umpire in. And obviously when they're appointed to do those matches, they're covered while they're undertaking those services. However, if they operate, for example, and just umpire school games and or other third-party external events that aren't a part of the National Risk Protection Program or the affiliated leagues and associations, then they wouldn't be covered under the program for those. So the distinguishing factor I'm in Geelong, so if AFL Barwon appoint their umpires, they go umpire Saturday games, community games, they're all affiliated matches, sanctioned games, they're all covered. But if they decide, or the AFL Barwon agree with Geelong College that Geelong College and Geelong Grammar need umpires for the Saturday's school game, that's not an affiliated competition or covered under the National Risk Protection Program, so they wouldn't be covered for that umpiring, those umpiring games. Now, there's some frequently asked questions just to assist with some clarification. Obviously, with that non-Medicare medical component, it's important to note that we highly recommend not only the umpires, but our players, coaches, volunteers, and everyone, that they look at having private health insurance to pick up those Medicare costs in the event of an injury, because we, unfortunately, under our program, it's against the law to pick those up. So private health insurance has got different legislation and they can pick up a lot more of those costs under that Medicare system. We also obviously recommend ambulance cover be taken out at the low cost it is for a family or a single, because ultimately that would eat into a claim if it is covered, and it is covered under the National Risk Protection Program. However, if someone gets injured in Colac and they get transferred to the Geelong Hospital, there's a large bill in that. So there might not be much left from that 2,000 maximum under the bronze level cover. So we always recommend that you look to take out that ambulance cover. And life insurance, obviously, everyone needs to look into their own financial situations when it comes to life insurance, income protection, and all those type of areas. There's some forms and documents on our website, such as policy wordings, clarification of what Medicare is versus what our program provides and the differences, the claim forms there, the upgrade forms there, and all those type of documents that would be required under this section. So ultimately, when we do get field calls from umpires, we direct them to this page. And if they've got any further queries, as Jono alluded to before, our contact details, email addresses are all located on our contact page. So we're happy. We've got a team that take all the calls from the community sport, including football. So any queries can go through that line, and then we can go from there. Any questions, queries, concerns in respect of the insurance for the umpires?
I might just ask a question, Jamie. I've already asked this with Jono to clarify, because this is what started the conversation with me and Jono. But so one of the questions I received from an umpire manager was, so we run our statewide academy, and they'll generally umpire in a league that's affiliated by AFL Vic that's not their own league. The question was, are they still insured if they're umpiring in a different league that's not their registered league? Yep,
100% covered. If they're any game that's an affiliated competition of the state body or that, so AFL Vic body, then and they've been appointed for that league, then they'd be fully covered.
Yeah, and they'll be covered at the level of that league.
Yeah.
So if that league has opted to take higher cover, or they'll get the additional higher cover.
Correct.
And you just had one chat comment from Jock. Jock said to go and see him, Jamie, because they operate under work cover. So we'd love to have a chat with you.
Yes, definitely. So ultimately, the question, and it's a complex question around the work cover area. And it's different in every state, obviously, because of our great work cover and workers' compensation laws that are changed in every state. It's dependent on the contract of employment and payment and so forth, whether they should be under a work cover policy, deemed a worker for that umpiring group or association or league, or they're not deemed that and they're deemed a volunteer, so they get that. Either way, they're fully covered under the National Risk Protection Program. However, they obviously, if they deemed to be a worker under work cover, there could be elements that needs to be reviewed further, because there could be issues with work cover.
Thanks, Jamie. Don't think there's any more questions, but if there is anything else, please reach out to myself. I'll share the contact details in my follow-up over the next couple of days for Jono, Jamie, and Kale, So if you do think of anything down the track, please reach out to them after today. Thanks, Jono, Jamie, and Kale for coming on and just going through that. Hopefully that's answered a lot of questions or queries, or at the very least, if any of the umpire managers online get these questions from their umpires during the year, you now know where to go, what the process is, and where to direct your umpires for the most easiest and quickest resolution for them.
Thanks for having us, Andrew. Appreciate it. Look, as I said, I'll share the details with you and amongst the team, and feel free to contact us if you've got any additional queries.
Thanks very much. Thanks again.
Thanks all.
Thanks all.
Okay, hopefully you can share the screen, see the screen again. So we're going to move on now. So I'm going to hand over to Dan Richardson to talk about the AFL Umpire Respect. Just before I hand over to Dan, I just want to highlight. So Dan reached out to me to want to come and talk to everyone about this after I received a bit of feedback a few weeks ago around the community implications of what the AFL instruction is for the abuse and demonstrative language. Some of the feedback was around, at community, we want to build our relationships, which is this, this is definitely still part of the conversation around building relationships. Also just want to highlight that umpire abuse and demonstrative language has and is still in the rule book. So it's still something that needs to be enforced on match day if that is happening at any level of football. So this is not a change or a new rule for community at all. It's definitely something that the AFL are doing to try and support umpiring more broadly. And Dan's going to talk about that with a little bit more info, and I think he's got some vision to share with us. So thanks, Dan, for joining on. I'll pass it over to you.
Thanks, Andrew, and also got Brenton Sando on the line as well, so he can jump in with this discussion as well, Sando. You set the scene well, thanks, Talbo. So I thought it was just worth, maybe what I thought I'd do is just present, if I start sharing my screen, first of all, just present where we're coming from with this from an AFL perspective, and then perhaps from there, hang on if I can just find, here we go. Can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Yeah, so I'll just play this video. This is the video or the presentation that went to all the AFL clubs. And so I'll just play a couple of clips here and hopefully that just gives you a bit of clarity on what we're looking through this strategy or this campaign or initiative to work through at AFL level, and then we can have a discussion about what that means for your respective community footy leagues. So as per Talbo suggested before, that was the rule, which I'm sure you're all well aware of.
Wait about.
So I think if I just stop playing the screen there for a sec, sorry, bear with me. Back on board there. So there's some examples. I'm interested in opening up the discussion, but they're examples that took place last year at AFL level. Obviously, I guess there's a bit of a difference there at AFL level where the players have got the ability to demonstrably point at the scoreboard. They saw that instance there from Sam Draper, virtually mocking the umpire for a decision. Similarly, players aggressively, the Mitch Robertson example, aggressively running towards the umpire. And what we probably determined, and I've been in the role of head of umpiring 12 months, and it came about through quite a lot of discussion, strong support from right up to Gil and the AFL Commission, but certainly gained further momentum when Brad Scott started in the role of General Manager of Football, and having come from Brad, having come from CEO of AFL Vic, was alarmed with some of the behaviour that was directed towards umpires at community footy as well, which he witnessed, and I've certainly witnessed enough of that myself. So I think what we felt, and I'm hearing perhaps some people's viewpoints, and Andrew expressed to me that umpires want to have relationships, good, respectful relationships with players. So we're absolutely through this strategy. We're not wanting to stop that. And in fact, at AFL level, the relationship between players and umpires, I think, has really built off field over the last few years through the number of club visits that the umpires undertake. So we certainly want to encourage that. But what we felt, and through those examples that I've just showed you, what we thought was happening is that relationship that was building off field, with umpires, getting on planes with clubs more often through COVID, spending time in hubs with players, and also the club visits. The relationship that has grown over the last few years wasn't being transferred once they crossed the right line, and players, for one reason or another, felt that it was okay to behave in that manner. And probably part of that was because the umpires as well were allowing, some of those examples we showed you there before, 50 metres wasn't paid or weren't paid. And the reality is, under the rules, and the rule as it stands, they should have been. So, that's in a nutshell where we're coming from. I certainly feel through what's been, a broad communication plan across all stakeholders within the industry and through the media as well. Hopefully you probably would have even seen or heard, Gil McLachlan talking to it, Brad Scott talking to this, that in a short space of time, we feel as though we're already seeing a significant change in behaviour with the players. And so credit to the players, credit to the league, credit to the clubs and umpires for getting that change in behaviour. And look, I shouldn't hold my breath or speak too soon. We're obviously only one round in, and obviously, as we know, as clubs get into the season, pressure mounts and so forth, and emotions are likely to run a bit higher. But we that said, we think we're seeing a significant change. So that's where we're coming from with this, and so then the next phase is certainly, part of the strategy behind this is a top-down approach to help at community level with some of these issues, and in turn, support the challenges that you all know that we have in terms of umpiring numbers, keeping up with the growth of the significant growth of the game, particularly around women's footy and female umpires as well. So. So that's sort of where we're coming from, but this coming on board today, and thanks for your time, was really just about opening up a bit more discussion from you all, get your thoughts on that, and as Andrew suggested, perhaps there was some comments that came through to him that you're not sure about how this might be implemented at community level and whether it might result in breaking down the, for want of a better term, a relationship between players and umpires. I'm interested in that. I think Sando, particularly, you'd be interested in that. And if anyone on the line is interested in sort of sharing their views on that, based on what I presented there, and maybe it just clears it up now that we're still and just to be clear, I think. And Gil was asked this, through some media questions. Well, where's the line? Can players still have a discussion with an umpire? Well, the answer is yes. At AFL level, there's still discussions in a meaningful manner, in a controlled manner, probably taking place with the third umpire or the non-controlling umpire off the ball. I was in the coach's box for a couple of games last week, so players are still able to ask an umpire a question off the ball, but what we don't want is the demonstrative finger pointing at the scoreboard, aggressively running towards an umpire, challenging a decision, waving the arms in the air, that everybody, all the viewers and therefore all the kids at community level and all the coaches at community level sit there and watch an AFL game and therefore think that it's okay. That's where we think, and I would hope that you see that's hopefully going to support umpiring at community level as well, and getting a change in behaviour there as well, if that's needed. I understand that different leagues will probably have different different levels or different strategies perhaps to address this, and some may have already be doing it really well and better than others. So yeah, happy to open up any discussion or questions. I think one just came up on the chat line.
Yeah, the one on the chat is just if we could have those 4 examples to show the leagues. So I'm not sure if
happy to send that link through, Talbo, and I think that link can. I'm sure we're comfortable sharing that at community level. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, Dan, it's Jock from Geelong. I've done a few radio rounds myself in the last few weeks with SEN and a few others. I think it's imperative that at community level we implement it the same way. It's got to be the same message right through and implemented that way. The clubs I've been involved with over the last few weeks think it's about time and fully supportive of it. So the pushback, I think, from our perspective would be minimal. It doesn't mean you're not going to get a howler with it, but in general, you're going to get a positive outcome and respect right through. It's another way umpires can learn from the TV themselves without coaches having to deliver it all the time. If they see the AFL umpires doing it and how it's implemented and reacted to, sometimes that's the best coaching we can ask people to go and see. So that's my view, and that's what we've been promoting.
Yep, terrific. Great to hear.
Telbo, just I'm the one who sent through the chat, but basically what I don't want to have is a scenario where somebody swears and we ping a bloke 50 metres for it. And I think dealing with some of the quality of umpires that we have at community level, if you go with the zero tolerance, that's what you're going to have, and that's going to create more problems for me at community level than I could ever dream of. So having the vision and saying that those 4 examples clearly where they are running at you, pointing at you, laughing at you, or throwing a mouth guard was the old one, they're clearly demonstrative. And I think if we penalise that, that's not a question, because people can see that. But we should be able to manage situations where a bloke says, you've got to be fucking kidding me or whatever, and handle that. If we go pinging them, I think we're going to be in real trouble. That's just my opinion from a community level, because we are not dealing with the same quality of people managing the game as what we are at AFL.
Yeah, I think that's worth fleshing out, and yeah, I think we're on the same page with that. Like what we've instructed the AFL umps anyway is that if the abuse is targeted directly towards you, then that's 50. If it's a case of a player swearing at himself, particularly, and I know sometimes that's probably difficult, can be a challenge to know where an F-bomb is directed. Yeah, you're possibly right. We may not want to see frees or 25s or 50s or whatever it is paid for that. So I think that's a line when it's clearly demonstrative, directed at the umpire. And overly demonstrative. I think that's what we want to see. If it's geez, he held me or whatever, perhaps they're the occasions where you're right. Perhaps paying frees in every one of those instances may be going a bit far. That said, I know are there any? I mean, I know, say for school footy, for example, it's send off rules straight away for even swearing. Now, I'm sure that's not the case at any senior level footy, but a junior level, I would imagine we're not a lot of junior footy. We don't want to be we don't want to sort of see kids on field swearing either if we can help it.
No, look, there's absolutely no doubt that underage football is zero tolerance across the board. Swearing's out, so there's no issues with that. But the example that you gave where the bloke turned and said, "You've got to be kidding me," because he was holding me, that's where I want to be able to encourage my blokes to say, "I'm sorry, mate, that's the way I saw it, let's get on with it." Now, that's a way of communicating and developing a relationship instead of just going bang 50, because I know with some of my blokes who don't have that skill set, that's what will happen if we go zero at senior level, because we just don't have that skill set in our group. And I would have to say that 99% of the blokes sitting in this room would be feeling the same way, I'm sure.
I think just on top of that, Mark, and for you, Dan, a bit of a learning for me. I've probably received 7 or 8 emails after that Melbourne Carlton game around, is this how we're supposed to be implementing, umpire abuse and whatnot. Now, the one example that has been highlighted to me that's hard, and I would love to be able to say to community umpires, watch AFL umpiring to teach how to umpire. One thing I'm going to just pull out on your point, Jock, is the Christian Petrarca incident in the Melbourne Carlton game. Now, I actually spoke to Brent Wallace over the weekend about that, and it's not Christian Petrarca who gives that away. So it's those sorts of things that probably started this whole discussion around where does community sit. So I think those 4 examples, Dan, where they're really evident, they're quite big, loud actions, and not something that's off to the side, is what will really help just support community groups in that education around where this sort of respect dissent initiative is coming from. Because if we just rely on what we see in AFL matches, there's going to be things that you don't see or you don't hear on game day for an AFL umpire, and they're going to be reacting to different things. So those 4 examples, I think, are just a really good tool to say, don't worry about what's happening on the weekend. This is what we're working towards stamping out for community football.
Yeah, that my example of looking at AFL umpires on a match day isn't what I was referring to as the absolute. And I certainly wouldn't be listening to media commentators on the TV who are quite terrible at it. I think it's a sample that we can use for 3 umpire system, how to manage and operate that when we have a lot of people that don't come to umpires training. So that's my example of using the AFL umpires of that. There's going to be howlers, there's going to be mistakes, but overall there's not going to be absolute. So that's my reference to the AFL using TV.
Yeah. I don't say you can't use the AFL umpires as a reference, because they are the best of the best in the country. But I think we've just got to be careful with our messaging sometimes around particulars, that we can't always see what the AFL umpires are doing. So that one example just really highlighted to me, I think, where the feedback I received was really getting lost in translation. So I think today your examples that you showed, Dan, I think really defines what the initiative of the AFL is doing and how it is completely supporting everything community can implement at their level without negating anything that each individual league and group are actually trying to do themselves as well.
Just Talbot, just to quickly move on, Sando here, but I don't want to get bogged down on it. I think the message is really clear, and Richo's presented it really well. Respect for umpires from players has to improve, and coaches won't let players get away with umpire abuse if they're going to continually get 50-metre penalties paid against them. So there's going to be some opportunities at community level where we won't quite get it right, and we'll get some strong feedback, I'm sure, from clubs. But the next stage is the abuse that umpires are getting from coaches at community level. And just to keep you guys in the loop and girls in the loop, that Queensland are successfully trialling paying 50-metre penalties against abuse when it comes from the coach's box towards the umpire as well. So they've had that for a couple of weeks now, and it's been really well received. So that might be the next step for us as well. Once we get the players showing more respect to the umpires, the next thing will be the coaches on game day. But sorry to jump in. I just wanted to make sure that we weren't getting bogged down in the message.
Yeah, it's great. I think that's fine. And look, yeah, I'm sure there might be occasions where, yeah, it's a fine line, and it might be a little bit up to the umpire's perception of whether the player's behaviour is, has been strong enough or demonstrative or abusive enough to warrant a 50. We get that. But I do. What I can tell you is that talking to AFL coaches, talking to AFL people, and I know it's different level, but it's now so clear to them, and it's just not within doubt. So they're just saying to players, which I think is a good message to send to any player, because for the history of the game, an umpire's never changed his decision on the spot or their decision on the spot, and never will. So it's just fruitless exercise for a player really to have a discussion with an umpire in the moment, even if the decision was the wrong decision. Certainly, though, it's more than suitable for that player to have a discussion, a meaningful discussion once they've sort of calmed down, if they need to, just to be able to sort of clarify the decision to help them, and I agree, those discussions, they certainly serve to build relationships between players and umpires, which I agree. I think that's what we all want.
I don't think there's any other questions, but once I get that vision, I'll forward it around to everyone. Again, Dan, thanks for your time. I think, yeah, to show that as soon as you passed on some feedback, you straight on the front foot wanted to get in front of everyone and give some more clarity around, just the messaging behind the scenes. Shows just how much you've bought into the umpiring scene, the umpiring group. So thanks very much for your time. I'll send around those edits when I get them from Dan. And again, I think I can say for Dan and even Sando that the three of us are here for when we're getting this community level and we're implementing it, and we need assistance. So we'll be here throughout the year as well.
Absolutely, yeah. And thanks for your time, and yeah, hopefully that clears it up a little bit, and good luck for you for the seasons, and yeah, good luck for the year. Hope it goes well. I'll send that memo to you now, Talbot, so you can flick that around. No problem. Awesome. You'll find it's just a link that you can just click on, and it goes through to that vision, that presentation.
Perfect. Thanks very much, Richo, for your time again.
Cheers.
Okay, we'll keep moving. So now just going to head straight into the development strategy program. So I know I've pretty much sort of rehashed them as we go along, and I'm just starting to go through them as they're a bit more timely or more available. So today I'm going to just revisit FIDA. I'll just touch on an update with the accreditation program. I'm going to go through Auskick again, even though it was part of my update at the start of the week, and an update on AFL community umpiring round. So FIDA, so I know I spoke about this middle of last year off the back of, you can see Pete Carey in there. So Eastern Footy League have a partnership with the Ringwood Redbacks, where they just have a partnership, supply umpires. I think it's once a month for their FIDA home games. Pete's got an initiative where they donate the match ball for the game. They award it to a best on ground player. We've got a really good partnership with that football club, and we spoke about potentially another avenue for other umpiring clubs around the state to do the same. So just a couple of reasons why. So social responsibility, giving back to the community, helping out a minority group within the footballing landscape. It's only an additional one game per month when they play. They play every 2 weeks, and they definitely try and alternate a home and away fixture for all teams. They're on Sundays, so there's no clashes with senior footy. There's modified rules which are focused on fun and opportunity for players, so making sure all players get involved and enjoy the game. There is also a big focus on respect, so they actually coach their players around not arguing and not I can't think of the word, disrespecting their opponents as well. So none of that back chat and none of that sledging. That's the word. So no sledging. So none of those behaviours. There's been results of a few players who actually transitioned to community umpiring because they're generally football nuffies. They love football. They love any aspect of it. So there's definitely examples where players will give umpiring a go. So it gives them an avenue for earning some money as well. And it's definitely just rewarding. So I'm not going to delve too much into this, but I will include in my follow-up email a list of all the clubs and their contacts, the regions that they sit in for both country and metro. So that's there if you want to look into doing that for 2022. So next is the accreditation program. So this is just the structure. So it's intro, development, advanced. So we introduced the traffic light system, red, yellow, and green. Hopefully everyone has now received their red wristbands and red hats for field boundary and goal umpires who will be first year this year. There it is there. So red, yellow, and green. I'm just going to go through. So the introductory course for first year umpires is now available through Officials HQ. So I'm just going to show you how to access that. So you can get your first year umpires to start completing the intro course. And I have been told that once they do complete it, it actually does link to their Officials HQ account and shows up as part of them completing their accreditation. So it's all active and all working. So to access the LMS to get the introductory course, you go up to your name. On the drop-down box, click on My Profile. That'll take you to another page, and you then need to click on External Links in the list of links on the left. That'll take you to the LMS login link. So you'll need to click on Generate Link. It will then create another link, which will say Go to LMS login page. Now, what will also happen now is you need to have your name and email matching your LMS account if you already have an existing account. If you don't have an existing account, it will automatically link, no issues. If you have an existing account, your name and email will need to match, and it will actually come up with a warning to say that is not occurring, and it will direct you to contact the customer support team at umpire.afl@afl.com.au, where they can go in behind the scenes and change the name or the email of your LMS account so that it matches your Officials HQ account. So all that is operational and functioning and ready to be addressed if needed for those umpires or coaches who have an LMS existing account. Once you click on that Go to LMS login page, you'll be taken to the dashboard of your LMS page. Now, I will need to get Josh to just change the Coach AFL back to Umpire AFL. So that's obviously just changed over the course of the summer when he's been updating everything. But the introductory course is there right underneath the yellow banner for first year umpires to complete. So they just click into that and it'll take them to the course itself where they can start completing all their modules and they do their quizzes and whatnot. Also on the landing page is the Umpire Training Centre. So all the resources that a lot of you are probably used to finding on the old AFL Vic website, they've been transferred into that section. Also, that if there's any other resources that have come around from the rest of the country, they've also been included. So in that section, there's little tiles that actually separate between all the different disciplines, whether you're an umpire or even whether you're a coach. and there's some additional sections that we're looking to continue to fill in the school space and the inclusion space, and also for umpire managers directly. When the development advanced courses have been loaded and up and running, you'll do the same process to access those, and will be under the course catalog section. So at the moment, there's nothing in that. You can click on it, takes you to a blank screen, but when they're ready, I'll let you know, and the same process will occur for you to access those. Are there any questions around the introductory course for your first year umpires?
Just quick one, Talbot. So if your league, like our league, we haven't moved over to Officials HQ, so they have to create an account on Officials HQ to access the LMS for that one. Was that correct?
That's correct. So what will happen is they just create an account. They won't need to put their banking details in. They won't need to put their working with children check card details in. So they can just create just a basic account, link it to your umpire club. Because all of the umpire clubs have already been created within Officials HQ anyway. So they'll just go in, create an account as per normal. They don't need any of the banking or working with children check details. And then once that's created, they can then go into their profile, create the LMS link, go in and complete their accreditation. And I'm fairly certain it will still generate a certificate for completing it anyway, so they can download that and print it out or whatnot.
Awesome, thank you.
Any reporting in Officials HQ about who's completed it?
Good question. I haven't seen or have been told how that will work just yet. So I know I believe it comes up in the umpire's dashboard for them to know that it's being completed. As we work through the reporting function and that continues to be upgraded and built out, we'll definitely include that because it'll be something we want to continue to track as well. Sando, I'm not sure if you've got anything else to add on that.
Yeah, sorry, Tab, I'll just jump in, Michael. It's all the states are requesting it, and it's the next critical item for the guys on the platform. So hopefully we'll get that because it's something that all the states are requesting is a report on completions of the introductory course and also registration. So hopefully ASAP.
Sounds good.
Sando, is there anything else I may have missed or anything additional just in terms of the LMS at the moment?
No, that's great, Talbo. Good update. The only thing, and I think I mentioned to, I don't know whether it was this group or the national group, but we're really pushing hard behind the scenes to make more courses available on the LMS. So we're hoping, and we can't put a time frame on it because the resources are obviously exhausted at the moment, but we're really pushing to ensure that we get so much more online content available for our community umpires. So watch this space, but we're hoping that it's going to be available really soon.
What about the decision-making tool? Yeah,
same, Jock. We're trying to make sure we're doing some work with the AFL squad at the moment. They've had a lot of positive feedback around the decision-making content, and it should be. I mean, the simple answer is it should be made available at community level as well. So once again, we're pushing as hard as we can to share the system with the AFL squad because they're getting so much benefits out of it.
Thanks, Sando. I'll keep moving on. So Auskick halftime. So as per my update, that's been confirmed and that's starting tonight. So we've got our first couple of umpires. I need to raise this because unfortunately there's actually been a change in the structure of how Auskick are running their halftime program, which I wasn't aware of until I had a chat to the participation manager yesterday. So in the past, pre-COVID, when Russell was running this, and I think even 2020 when I started to do this, is that what used to happen was I would request 4 to 8 umpires that I would just continually rotate throughout the year to do the grid games. And there was only ever 2 grid games at half time. So it was only ever 2 umpires we were needing to appoint, and then the rules games were done generally by the Auskick coordinators or a school group. Now, what's happening this year is that Auskick, they don't have Auskick coordinators attending all of the grid games that they have, because what they're doing is they're just taking an expression of interest from Auskick participants and families and groups to say, let us know if you're interested and we'll schedule you. So the players, the Auskick players and the Auskick people that are turning up from game to game, the AFL, are completely random. So we don't that Auskick don't have the support that they've had in the past in terms of personnel on the night. So what they're asking for this year is that if you're allocated a game, they actually want the full cohort of umpires to be allocated to that game. So they've gone back to 6 and 8 grid games at MCG and Marvel. So they want the full cohort of umpires to be appointed. Now, obviously, we're going to have AFL games that are scheduled during the same time as community football. So access to umpires is really low during those times, which makes that 6 to 8 umpires for Auskick games really, really hard to manage. So I guess I want to put it out there with everyone. How do you want this best managed? After some feedback in the last couple of years, this year I've obviously opened it up that it can be any umpire as long as they're not a first-year umpire. They don't have to be a second-year umpire aged between 14 and 19 or 20. Like previously, there can be anyone, so you can reward a long-serving 35-year umpire who's never umpired on the G with a game on the G, which I think is a great initiative and a great opportunity. But the fact that Auskick want a full cohort of 8 to 6 umpires, especially during the day matches, how would you like me to manage this best for you? Is getting just a group of umpires from each region to manage? Hey, would like me to revert back? Is it something you want to manage yourselves and just give me the details to organise the rules and the ticketing? Or I guess the third option that I've thought of and spoken about with Auskick is, do we just open it up and do an expression of interest link for all umpires in Victoria, and then I can just schedule the people who are actually interested? So I would like to get your thoughts on how to source umpires for these Auskick games. If anyone has any thoughts.
Last idea sounds good. Just expression of interest, and if you get 400 names put up, they can fight amongst themselves, I guess. But I know for us, it's going to be difficult to coordinate that. We're actually doing more junior games on Sundays now, so going to be very time poor across the whole season to send anyone down.
So regional's a bit different buckets. Like with the regional umpire groups, I'm still, if you find a fixturing week where there's no games for a bye, let me know and I'll schedule you to bring a whole group down for the day. So regionals, more than happy to still cater to that, but it's more so for the metro groups. Yeah, how would you like me to manage those umpires?
I know the way that you're doing it at the moment, it's pretty good. I think I've just kind of been a bit unlucky with some of the people that I've asked. They've had things not necessarily to do with umpiring, but like I mentioned earlier, someone's having a firstborn, someone's having an 18th. So, but I know that we've got a lot of umpires who would thrive at that opportunity. And just I think it's exciting just being like, hey, awesome, we've got this email from yourself, and then being able to offer them as we go. Because I think when they're sort of put with the opportunity, it'll be a bit more as opposed to having them put in the expression of interest. I think we might not grab as many that way that's just my thinking, as opposed to if we put it to them and said, hey, and then we can sell it to them even better that way as well.
Is anyone else from Metro in particular? Keep it the same as I've started this year. Go to an expression of interest or nominate X amount of umpires, a preference.
Yeah, no, I reckon the way we're doing so far has probably been my preference. I mean, we probably struggled tonight getting a few, but I think early in the season it's probably a bit more of a struggle. But once we get into it, I think having that flexibility a bit more is probably a bit better rather than having the same people doing it all the time.
Yep. Probably just last call for anyone from Metro. No, so look, I think for the Metro groups, I'm happy to keep it the same then if I've heard it from two of you. And for regional, again, I'm still happy to just manage a particular date in particular that works for your group. I know the Gippsland groups have already flagged that they're going to provide a couple of dates that suit with their fixturing, and they'll bring up a busload of kids and we can scatter them across multiple AFL games. So I guess the message from Auskick is that they really would like the full cohort of umpires if you are allocated a game. Maybe what I'll do is the junior clubs, South Metro and Yarra, I'll actually probably give them a few extra games on a Saturday when most of their umpires aren't umpiring in a senior competition. And then I'll try and just sort of spread out the Sunday games. And then obviously Friday and Saturday nights are a little bit easier for everyone. They're primetime games and there's generally no community football that time. So I'll keep it as is for now. If there are any concerns just from your particular umpire group, please let me know and I can structure how I'm scheduling matches for you all so I'm not overburdening you all too much. Just while I've got you on this page, just one thing to note is if you do source any over 18 umpires, they will need to supply a working with children check before they enter the ground. So Auskick is part of the AFL program, and an AFL policy is that they require working with children check. I've put no exception for teachers or police at the moment. That's pretty much what the policy states, but the Auskick, not the Auskick coordinators, but they're the halftime support officers. They've said that they're actually happy to accept the VITs as proof for their volunteer for those games, and they're police regos. So that's what the policy states, but the support officers are happy to accept that. Keep moving on because I have gone over time and I'll try and update everyone. So AFL Community Umpiring Round. So this year, a little bit different. It's actually going to be over 2 weeks. So pretty lucky we're going to have 2 weeks of media. Now I know here in Vic I actually scattered it over 2 weeks to try and cover more opportunities for umpire clubs, but it's officially going to be rounds 8 and 9 of the home and away season. So I've just taken the fixture from rounds 8 and 9. So we've got 7 matches where we'll run the same match day experience. So we'll get umpires on the ground pre-game. They'll walk out and hold the ball up for that first siren, a bit of a jog around during the warm-up, and then we'll get them in the background for the coin toss and see if we can get a couple of captains to meet them as well. And then for those games, if there's an Auskick activation at the game, they'll umpire the Auskick grid games that day as well. So what I'm working with Sando on at the moment is training visits and also community junior matches. So they were really well received last year. So we'll try and roll them out again. Because it is over 2 weeks, we will try and see if we can schedule some AFL umpires to visit some regional umpire clubs as well, because I know they missed out last year. It was done a little bit last minute ad hoc. So we've got time up our sleeve now. We'll make sure we try and get some umpires out to regional locations. So what I do need from you is to please, during those 2 weeks, I would like all umpire clubs to send me the main session that you'll have at training for each of those 2 weeks. So you'll have one main session between May 2nd and May 5th, and then one main session between May 9th and May 12th. So if you can send me those details, I just need the dates and the time you'll start. I've got all your training locations, so that's easy. Same with regional umpire clubs. Please send me those details as well. With community junior matches, so we'll put it out to the AFL umpires again just to get an expression of interest. But like last year, it'll depend on where they're travelling, what they're appointed to. So I know last year I ended up having 10 AFL umpires want to be involved, and we could only get 3 based on appointments. So that'll be based on appointments how far and wide we can get those opportunities to go. Talent Academy, just a quick update again. So firstly, V-Line Cup panel's been finalised and sent out. I included that, sent that to the Academy cohorts the other day, and included all the umpire managers that have Academy umpires. Accelerator squad and under 17 NAB boys. So we've delayed selecting and announcing the accelerator squad. Main reason being, or 2 reasons. Firstly, I received a lot of requests for umpires to be included in the accelerator squad. Probably missed the mark in terms of what the expectation is. The accelerator squad is aimed to be a more elite sort of offshoot program within the academy for umpires who are realistically already potentially be umpiring state league football. And the second part of the reason is the state league, based on their requirements for the training facilities at the moment, is that when each discipline is at training, they can only have a certain amount of people attend. So even though I had almost 30 umpires for one discipline, that'll have to be cut down to 12 at most for a discipline on the accelerator squad. So what we're going to do is we're going to wait until all umpires have umpired their under 17 or under 16 NAB boys futures matches in April. And then based off the feedback that we received, so all of those games will have a VFL umpire observing them. So that's already confirmed. So we've got that ticked off. So after we receive all the feedback, then we'll put the accelerator squad together. And I can confirm the first session for each discipline, where they'll be attending Vic Park for state league training. So the field umpires, their first session will be Thursday, the 21st of April. Goal umpires will be Thursday, the 28th of April. I had boundary last because it was to be confirmed, but it was confirmed this morning. Their first session will be Tuesday, the 26th of April. And you can see there, the field will be the second last Thursday of each month until July. Goal will be the last Thursday of each month till July. And boundary will be the last Tuesday of each month until July. So they'll get 5 visits at State League where they'll train and have coaching with their discipline cohorts. And just State League appointments, I've sent this already in my update, but starting next week, all appointments for State League opportunities will be on a Sunday only. So the coaches have been made aware, and they're happy to work to make sure that they're not taking away umpires from community football on a Saturday. There's going to be 1 week where it's going to be quite high need of community umpires. So April the 22nd, there's 5 competitions running in the State League. So they've got their NAB girls, NAB boys, VFLW, VFL men. They've also got the under 18 national championships on in Melbourne as well. So Sunday, April 22nd, we'll be requesting a lot of community umpires in the academy to be umpiring State League matches. I think it's already earmarked at around 12 field, 10 boundary, and 4 or 5 goal umpires. So quite a lot of opportunities coming up. And as I said in my update as well, Officials HQ is being used for State League. So the umpires will get their match details through Officials HQ. So all academy umpires that we asked have already made their account and they're linked to the panels. And then once I've checked with you and the umpire that they're available on those Sundays, I'll send a full confirmation of all appointments for the week to all umpire managers involved. And lastly, just on academy. So I haven't received many names for this Sunday, so I'm going to put back the feedback session I was going to do for community coaches. So like I've said a couple of times, I'm going to offer community coaches to do some upskilling in feedback and match day expectations of umpires across all 3 disciplines. So Lee Bewalder, who's the senior State League coach, he's going to run a session for community boundary coaches around what the expectations are for boundary umpires on match day. I'll do the same for the field umpire coaches, and we'll also have a session for goal up community coaches as well. So I was going to have the field session this weekend, but I only received one umpire coach to participate. So if you can please pick one community coach from each discipline within your groups to attend those online sessions, they'll be upskilled in what the expectations are at State League. And that way you'll be able to use those coaches to provide us feedback, more feedback about your umpires who are in the academy. So we're not just relying on one observation a year. We're actually hopefully getting 2, 3, 4 bits of information from your own coaches throughout the year about your academy umpires. Any queries around the academy stuff? I know most of that was in the update, but I just wanted to highlight again because I haven't had much of a response with a couple of things this week. No, all right, I'll keep going. All right, law adjustments. So just want to let you know before I do go through this. So Sando and I are actually working on putting together a bit more of a video just to explain the law adjustments. I'm just going to touch on them now because I have been getting a lot of questions around what they are, how to implement them, etc., etc. So I'm just going to go through them quickly with one example, just to show you what they are at AFL level. Also just need to highlight these laws are actually all already in the law book. They're not new laws. It's just an adjustment of interpretation. So again, like I've said to a few people that I've already met with, the interpretation, how it's implemented at community level, sort of relies on the coaching level of your umpires and your league's requirements at the end of the day. So firstly, here's the 4 adjustments. So we've got a 50-metre time delay, a time wasting free kick, and there's 2 holding the ball adjustments. So the 50-metre time delay, being more diligent in awarding 50-metre penalties against players who delay or impede the play. So it's already a law. It's just being more diligent. In time wasting, being more diligent in awarding free kicks against the player whose actions delay the play. So again, already a free kick, already a law. It's just being more diligent. Holding the ball. After a player has had prior opportunity, a player must dispose of the ball within an immediate time. So again, it's already in the rule book, but it's just emphasising if a player has already had prior opportunity that they need to dispose the ball immediately when tackled. Now, the one adjustment that is a little bit new is holding the ball. Ducking is now considered a prior opportunity. So what I'll do is I'm going to quickly run through just the laws first. I couldn't get my videos to link in with my PowerPoint, and I'll show that second. So firstly, the 50-metre time delay, it's 19.2F, engages in any conduct which delays or impedes the play. So it's not a new law change. It's always been in the rule book, but it's just being more diligent in allowing play to be more open and move more freely when there's a mark or free kick awarded. So I'll show you an example of that one. Time wasting, again, it's already in the law book, 1813D, engages in time wasting, just being more diligent. We've got an example of what that looks like. The holding the ball, so I think I've sent this matrix around before, but I'll include it in my recap again. So we've got the matrix. So the first one is if a player has had prior opportunity, which includes evade, fend, a prior option, which is they go to handball and they choose not to, or they are about to line up for a kick and they decide not to kick and they decide to continue running. Balanced and steady, awarded a mark or a free kick, or they drive or duck their head from now on. So this is only if there's no successful disposal, once they've had prior and they're tackled legally, it needs to be a free kick for no immediate disposal. And the last one, oh, sorry, that's the rule there. So 1862 has had prior opportunity, needs to correctly dispose of the football immediately when they're legally tackled. So it's already there, but it's just emphasising that immediate time frame now. The last one that has changed is a player who elects to duck their head in order to break a tackle shall be considered as having a prior opportunity. So what I will do is I'm just going to change my screens. Okay, so this first example is delaying the play. So a free kick's been awarded. The rationale behind this is, as you can see in the script down the bottom, Hill delays the play delays the ball being returned to allow Patrick Ryder to set up. So there's Patrick Ryder, there's Bradley Hill, the free kick. So if we play this clip, Patrick Ryder's got time to run down, and he actually takes the next mark from the kick. So this action here where Hill stays over the ball doesn't allow his opponent to take the kick. That action is a free kick. So that's already been in the rule book. So the adjustment is being more diligent. So that will be 50 this year. Next one. So this is time wasting. So this is mainly around stoppages, ball ups and boundary throw-ins. So we've got Nathan Williamson who's called a ball up. So just watch what happens left side of the pack with the ball after as he's running in. So the Brisbane Lion player flicks the ball away, just creates time. So he's a defender, he can set up and his teammates can set up as well. So again, it's not a new rule. It's just being more diligent in those examples when players are deliberately stopping the flow of the game. Okay, so this next one is holding the ball. So this is an example where a player has had prior opportunity, tackled legally, and he does dispose of the ball immediately. Takes possession. That's considered an evade. He gets tackled, and his first action is basically to handball the ball. So that's an immediate disposal when tackled after having prior opportunity. Again, the key is after having prior opportunity. Okay, if they're no prior, they're allowed to have their time. Now, this example here is the opposite, where they've had prior, tackled legally, and does not dispose the ball of immediate. Handball, takes possession, fend, that's prior opportunity. He's tackled and he continues to hold the ball while he's tackled to ground. So I'll play this one again. So the fend, there's the fend, so that's prior opportunity. So now once he's tackled, he needs to immediately dispose. He decides to hold on to the football. He gets tackled to ground. Now he does eventually get the kick, but that's not an immediate disposal. So in full speed. So that was paid last year and should also be a free kick this year again. And then the last example is the duck. Here we go. So player takes possession, ducks into the tackler. So that is now prior opportunity. So previous years, in the last few years, that duck is simply just not a high contact free kick. Now it's also considered prior opportunity. The words that we're using at the VFL is the ducker has to be solely responsible for the contact though. So if a player comes in with a very crude tackle or a crude arm, or they're coming at high speed from front on, you still need to make sure the tackler has a duty of care to avoid that high contact. So community level, especially where you potentially do get the odd player who enjoys making that physical contact and hurting players when they tackle them. If it's a crude tackle, it still needs to be paid high contact. So the ducking motion is really only for those situations where the tackler, as you can see here, he goes in for a legal tackle if that player was standing up. So the tackle would have been a normal tackle. There's no crudeness around it. Dalhouse ducks into the tackler. So that's his prior opportunity. And if he doesn't dispose immediately, it's holding the ball. I'll play that one for you one last time. So Dalhouse lowers the head using his neck and hips to duck under the tackle. Are there any quick questions around the law adjustments? So again, just depending on the level of your umpires, depending on the requirements of your leagues, you know, I can see Doug, South Metro Juniors, you probably might change the interpretation of a duck, especially at your lower levels where high contact is high contact regardless of what the player of the ball does, because it's juniors. You want to protect the head. You might get a senior competition who does want to enforce the interpretations as they are. So I just do want to premise that it still relates to what level of umpires you got and what the coaching requires for your league or your umpiring group. Any questions? No? Okay. Finish up. Are there any questions about anything that's not related to what we've spoken about already before we head off for the afternoon? Right, okay, just before you go, so April workshop, I'm going to earmark Thursday the 28th at 12 p.m. I'm hoping to make this one a face-to-face event. It'd be much nicer to actually try and meet everyone face-to-face. So hopefully I've given you plenty of time that you can, for those in regional Vic, can come down to Melbourne. I'll probably try and book out a room at Marvel again. That was really nice for those that were able to meet up in December face-to-face. To just meet at Marvel, and we'll go have lunch as well, post a session just nearby. So if you can earmark that date so you can come out, have a feed, and we can do this face to face, that would be great. Otherwise, good luck over the next couple of weeks for everyone. I know it's going to be pretty manic and hectic for everyone, getting your appointments and dealing with umpires, you know, available, not available, available again, you know, filling your games. So I do recognise I've taken a lot of time out of your weeks leading into round one of your competition. So thanks very much. Please reach out if you've got anything else, and I'll chat to everyone soon.
Thanks, Davo.
Well done, Tavo.